Hello, my name is Robert Schmid, Deloitte Digital's Chief IoT Technologist, also known as Mr. IoT. This week on Coffee with Mr. IoT, my co-host Rachel Moorman and I are talking with Kevin Donahue. He's a fellow blogger about IoT, and we will talk about acronyms today. How are you doing? Hey.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
So,
how's your day going? Are you what time zone are you in, Kevin?
Can you see me? Sorry, I think things locked up on this end.
we lost you, but we'll I think you're out in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, right? Eastern time zone?
I think we have a little bit of lag today.
Yeah.
Is that me or somebody else?
I think you're back, Kevin.
Okay.
I was saying, where are you hailing from this wonderful morning, afternoon?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm South Jersey, just about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
Great.
Very cool. So Kevin, we got you on today because you blog like I do and like Rachel does about IoT, and we met at actually LifeWorks a few weeks ago, and you introduced yourself, which was great. Thank you for that. You wrote a really interesting article about IT and OT, and we have all these acronyms: IoT, IT, OT. Let's just put some words to that, and let's just talk a little bit about what they are. And then why don't you share with us your thoughts about what you wrote in there? I thought it was an interesting view how what happened to IT 10, 15 years ago is happening to OT today with IoT. And now I managed to put all three acronyms in one sentence. I'm almost proud of myself. So Kevin, go for it and explain what are we talking here about for the people that aren't into acronyms like us.
So yeah, as I said in the blog, I tend to drive a lot, and that's good thinking time. And I draw a lot of the parallels to what happened when internet technology kind of started making its way into the enterprise, or really distributed computing started making its way in. And 15, 20 years ago, big companies, enterprise companies, had multiple siloed systems. You had the legacy mainframe, and maybe you had some client-server applications, and then three-tiered architectures from the internet kind of started moving in. And this is really where the systems integrators kind of grew, and things like enterprise middleware came in to connect all these disparate systems so that companies could develop new applications and get kind of a single view of their world of IT, everything kind of browser-based, a single pane of glass, if you will. So as IoT is coming in, I really think there's a lot of parallels where you're connecting, instead of just legacy systems and new systems with enterprise middleware, you're bringing together the operational technologies, whether it's machine-to-machine communication or HVAC or RFID, all of those technologies that have existed in the physical world for years. Now with IoT, you're bringing together, or the opportunity exists to bring together, IT as we've known it for, say, 30 years, and the operational technologies, which are all technology-based, but those systems have not historically connected to the world of IT. So that's kind of how I came up with IoT, kind of rephrasing it as the integration of operational technology. So now, across the board, you've got sensors, gateways, cloud computing, mobile, legacy systems, kind of all being able to be brought together in one world. So that was kind of the basis of the blog.
So if you were to take a look at where most companies are based on their, I don't know, if you think a maturity scale, kind of getting maturity, where should companies look at kind of that larger integration? What should they be working towards? What should they be thinking about so that they do have that holistic view? They do have it at the same way that IT developed and kind of grew those normalizations of tech stacks. How should companies think of it as they get more mature in this space?
So one of the things that I've seen is a lot of the technologies and applications that now fall under the umbrella of IoT are not exactly new. Okay, so the term IoT originally came out of the RFID industry. Well, there's already a lot of RFID applications that are out there, whether it's retail or IT asset management or logistics. Those things are there. Machine-to-machine communication. Companies have been doing that in manufacturing for decades. And there's other examples. When I'm looking at the opportunities that exist for large companies in the enterprise, it's taking the gateways and leveraging the applications that they already have in place and tying them together, applying analytics, whether it's like an edge computing model or an enterprise or cloud-based model, and extracting value out of the data that they're already collecting. I forget who it was, but Robert, maybe you remember, there was a woman that was speaking at LiveWorks, and she made the point, it's like, my customers aren't asking me for IoT applications. They're asking me for ways to, make things more efficient, get analytical data, collect the data, and through, say, cloud computing or fog computing, or not cloud, fog computing or edge computing, enable the systems to respond more quickly and make decisions independently so that I'm able to get the operational efficiencies from the things that I'm already doing. And at an enterprise level, collect that data, apply analytics, review your business rules, and just leverage the technology, the applications that you have, as well as the new things, and run your operation more efficiently. Plus, there's the added benefit, and I really think that as organizations are trying to put budgets together and looking for the ROI, there's opportunities now to monetize that data. So thinking strategically, it's leveraging what you already have, improving business operations, and seeing if you can monetize the data that you've been collecting and maybe not doing anything with.
If you're just joining us now, I'm Robert Schmid, Deloitte Digital's Chief IoT Technologist, and you're watching Coffee with Mr. IoT. Today, Rachel and I are talking to Kevin Donahue, and we're talking about acronyms and value and all those good things. Kevin just talked about IT information technology, and so those are the accounting systems and CRM systems and how they were connected 10 years ago and how that affects what happens, very much correlates to what happens today in OT, operational technologies with IoT or Internet of Things, how they're connected. So, Kevin, let me shift for a second back to something totally different. I often ask this, and I'm curious. I look at the pictures behind you. It looks to me you have your wife back there.
Yes.
How do you use IoT in your personal space? I'm just curious. How does it affect you at home?
Well, it's.
I know you also said you had something there's something special about your family. I'd love to hear about that for just a few minutes.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I am fortunate enough to have 16-year-old triplets.
Oh my God!
And
that sounds like a nightmare.
Well, no, it's we're extraordinarily fortunate, and they just got their learner's permits. And in New Jersey, you get your permit at 16 and a half, and you do 6 months of training, and then you get your license at 17. So when I think about how IoT is going to impact my life, and I don't know that my children are all that thrilled about this, but I do see, things like some of the tracking technologies that you can now put into cars, and/or things with their cell phones. Really keeping an eye on the kids and making sure that they're safe. That's real important. So that's kind of where I'll start applying things. Haven't looked at the intelligent lights and locks and like that for our house, but at some point that's coming. I also see that we've got, I don't know how many computers in the house, phones, iPads. We're using some of the streaming media. It's all, as far as I'm concerned, IoT, and as we move forward, we're just going to add more. But number one is new drivers.
So it's interesting, right? My son just got a car, and my second son, I have two boys, almost 17 and 19, and I can't even imagine learning 3 16-year-olds to drive. So, wow, all I say. But interestingly
got
enough,
something special in that cup, because I don't think he can deal without maybe some magic sauce in your coffee cup. Or what do you got in there, Kevin?
Not this morning, but it has happened.
hey, Rachel, do you want to talk about DRIVE for a second? It's something we do at Deloitte, and it actually talks about the whole insurance place and IoT. I find it very interesting.
Sorry, what was the first bit? It was breaking up when you asked. Do you want to talk about
DRIVE? How DRIVE builds on what Kevin talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably heard as much as you at this point, Robert. But I think I'm curious also to hear from Kevin if his kids even understand the concept of IoT, or if it's more around that's their day-to-day life. And I think as the generations go, I don't know if IoT is even a concept to them, because it's more integrated in their everyday. You mentioned, like, they're walking around with their MP3 players and their devices, and the cars are going to become connected. Do they even understand that that's an upcoming technology, or do they think that's more integrated in their day-to-day?
It kind of just is. It's the world that they've come up in. And, you have these discussions, maybe Robert's had them with his own kids. They can't imagine, they don't remember a world without cell phones or the internet. So it just kind of is. And when you talk about things that fall under the umbrella of IoT, their view is like, well, that just kind of makes sense. Why does that need a different name?
Right.
And I really believe that, from an enterprise standpoint, even though I'm the IoT guy and Robert is Mr. IoT, at some point we're just kind of going to stop talking about it, because that's just the way things will be done. Right. When the internet came along, people started talking about intranets. Well, now it's just a system. You don't talk about intranets so much anymore. So for kids, it's just kind of the world that they're growing up in, and everything makes sense to them. And I really think from an enterprise standpoint, it'll just be the way things get done. It'll be expected.
Right.
I often say that soon we're going to stop calling it IoT, the Internet of Things, and we're going to go back to calling it the Internet, because it's just going to be the way the life is. I think the interesting thing about this is that what will change is that we will factually know things that we before didn't, and we just had models for that. And a good example for that is insurance, right? And we in Deloitte have created this product called DRIVE, which is actually a mobile app, and it sits on the phone, and it actually measures how you drive, and then gives that information back to the insurance company. So instead of you getting a rate based on your age and your driving record, it'll actually give you a rate based on how well you drive, based on where you are. And I actually like that. And that goes back to your kids and my kids. And, I think the insurance industry will be heavily impacted by what soon will be the internet again. What do you think about insurance and IoT?
this gets back to obviously the new drivers. If there's anyone watching that lives in the state of New Jersey, you will know that we have by far the highest insurance cost for automobiles and driving. You know, with just my wife and I, we are in the thousands of dollars, and we've got clean records. So when the children start driving, our insurance costs, without any new cars, are just going to double, just because, as you said, you know, age and experience and gender and things like that. They've just got these tables, and that's how they do it. So something like that, where you know, we can be charged, you know, as users, as a service. You know, if we are driving properly within, you know, the parameters that are deemed safe and within the law, I would much rather, you know, have access to something like that. And if one of my children gets speeding tickets or something, well, you know what? They can just get their own policy, and I'm not paying for that anymore, and they'll feel that pain.
Rachel, you talked about some student predictive use cases you had. You just want to bring that in here?
Yeah, so I think I was working with a group from Indiana University, a Master's in Information Science team, and they were doing some really cool stuff using SAP's predictive analytics, where the IoT sensors sat in BMWs, and they were using that information to drive the typical use case around predictive analytics, but then they also found that that data can be leveraged outside of obviously just the automotive industry. So kind of tying back to insurance. Similarly, I know Michelin was implementing sensors in their tires for the same thing, and then they realized that they had data that was valuable outside of just learning how to best drive R&D in their own field, but that could be used for BMW, that could be used for insurance, that could be used kind of across the board. So what I think is becoming really interesting in this space is the data that's coming from these sensors is so valuable for the specific company, but even more importantly, it becomes a new product. It becomes a new value chain for those organizations where they can share it across their kind of like ecosystem, as you will, and really drive meaningful insights when they start pulling multiple data sets together. So for example, BMW is saying that that the user is accelerating, and that's causing performance on the tire, and therefore the insurance rate should go up because that causes a less stable environment for the driver, or something like that, where really all three data sets had to be incorporated to drive that insight, and never before have we seen that because no one's shared it before because no one's understood that value, or had that value, I guess. So I think that's where the conversation gets really cool, and I know, you know, we've talked about in the healthcare industry as well how those data sets are getting merged, but I think we're going to see that trend go a lot further. I don't know, Kevin, if you've seen anything in your world kind of that cross-sharing mentality of IoT data enabling new insights.
Well, I was actually pretty close to the early on in that Michelin application that you mentioned. Putting passive RFID tags and really embedding them in the tires during the manufacturing process.
Awesome.
And the business case for that was to support fleet management applications, and initially for public transit. So, you know, as people now are talking platforms as a service, this is really tires as a service. So if Michelin is looking to engage with, say, a public transit organization for tires on buses, they don't sell them tires. Okay, what they do is sell them access to tires, and it's, hey, you've got X amount of buses, and we will make sure that you have good tires on all of those. And by using the RFID tags in there, they're associating tires to buses, to usage and things like that. They're getting the data, and they're able to operate, support tires as a service for large fleets. That works out for the transit organization. It works out for Michelin. And now you take that and start, say putting more advanced tracking devices on the vehicles, or really just kind of leveraging the data that's coming from the tires, that's coming from the buses, and it's efficiency, it's data, it's analytics, it's all that. But it's real. It's happening. It's been happening actually for some time.
So time flies as always. I always am amazed how I get in there and I'm never quite sure how to fill 25 minutes, and here we are at the end of Coffee with Mr. IoT. So Kevin, let me ask you one last question, and then you just close with whatever you'd like to close before we close out the show. My question for you is, there's so much use cases out there. Why aren't we seeing more broad-scale IoT implementations today than we are?
I guess it's like anything else. It's people are taking a pragmatic approach to this. There are things that are out there now. Say, for example, the healthcare industry. Tracking things like infusion pumps and equipment. That's been going on for some time. There are things like specialty tools tracking in manufacturing that's been going on for some time. So again, a lot of this stuff isn't new, and pockets of this have existed. When you're talking about broad scale, it's again tying those things together and providing a single pane of glass and leveraging that data. It's a big change architecturally, and I think there's specific industries where they see low-hanging fruit and can see an ROI. I think that if you look at what happened in cloud computing, it took some time, but people that look pragmatically went through their process, and now it's hybrid clouds are getting more and more common. I see that as the same in IoT. It's going to be a pragmatic process. It's going to be evolutionary, and a couple of years from now, we'll be talking about it and say, "Oh, wow, this is just the way things are done now."
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you being here. Rachel, any closing thoughts?
Robert, I'm offended. I think you forgot something.
Oh, please remind me, Rachel.
I was a little nervous because I was afraid where this was going to go, and I looked down and I realized I wasn't wearing any, but I'm just bracing for the famous question that you ask every week.
So, Kevin, I did a Coffee with Mr. IoT with my retail ladies, Rachel and Tracy, and when I started talking about hardware shopping, they said, "What do you mean? Why don't we talk about shoes?" So ever since then, we talk about shoes and we share our shoes. I'm wearing some really nice Campus today.
Ooh, those are. You know what I'm wearing?
Oh, look at you, Rachel. Where's the sensor in those shoes, in those feet?
There's nothing yet. I'm waiting to get embedded later today.
Embedded later.
What are you rocking today?
Kevin, what are you rocking?
Well,
oh, look at you. We got the Barefoot Day.
We got the Barefoot Club. And with that, we wrap up another week.
Thank you, everyone. This was Coffee with Mr. IoT. Rachel and I will be back next week. And next week, we'll have as our special guest Michael Reyna, and we'll talk about the information value loop, how we go about figuring out value all along the way in IoT. So see us next week, Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern.
Kevin.
Have a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Rachel, Robert, thank you very much. It's been a blast.
Bye.